Hello, I am Jody Wolf, and you're watching Expoz, September 18, 2018, 7:05 p.m. Birmingham. Topic, Peace Treaty, Israel, Part 2, and two other topics. Let's start with other topics. Number one, today the United States were ahead of Russia for the first time since 1999, and Saudi Arabia is an oil-producing nation. We outpump and outproduce Russia and Saudi Arabia. We're at 11 million plus barrels a day, and that number is increasing by the month. It keeps going up, and we'll be higher than that this time next year, maybe up to 12 million a day. In any case, this should fast-track the United States into where we won't have to be so dependent on anyone else. We still bring a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia. I mean, why else would we be over in the Strait of Hormuz right there off Iran trying to keep it open when Iran wants to close it? Anyway, maybe that's for the other countries. However, we're number one in oil-producing nation right now today. Okay, number two, Syria, they're the ones that shot down the Russian spy plane. But Russia's blamed it on Israel because Israel, the Israeli jets, were flying. And this is common. When you have a larger plane in an area like this where they're defending borders and so forth, and if there's munitions coming in, Israel has the right to take them out. And ISIS, Israel has the right to take them out. That's an agreement between them and Russia. Russia won't block them from doing those things. But Israeli jets were flying close and under a Russian spy plane that was coming in for a landing. They were at 5,000 feet. Syria saw the jet. They knew it was Russian. But they fired anyway to try to take out the two Israeli jets. And of course, the little jet scooted right out of the way, and the missile, the S-300, hit the Russian and killed everyone aboard. I think it's 18. Russia blamed Israel and tagged the United States in with them, blamed us both for that. And I don't know what this is going to do between Russia, Putin, and Israel, Netanyahu, because they did have an agreement that Russia would not prevent them or stop them or fire on them if they were taken out in defending their border. So we'll see what happens here. All right, number three, this is the biggie. Kushner signals coming peace deal for September 18, 2018. Now, the downside of this is it was the May 31st speech that he made when the embassy was moved to Israel on the Declaration Day, on the opening, the grand opening, if you remember that. Now, this speech was an hour and 40 minutes, and Kushner, he said something in here that was very, very important, and I even perked up when I heard it. And then it took someone else to tell me, well, this is what he really said. Kushner dropped a big clue on what he said over the hour and 40-minute speech. What he said could bring false peace fulfillment. Now, how does that work? Well, what he said is America has decisive power to tip the scales in favor of the righteous. That seems very normal to me. It is normal, except when you cross-reference the word tip the scales in Hebrew. I've not looked up tip the scales in the Webster Dictionary. You know what? That'd be a good thing to do, and I will, and I'll post that below. But let me tell you what tip the scales means in Hebrew. Ebbing. Tip the scales means ebbing, flow back or recede. The tides ebbed at noon. Ebb down, ebb off, ebb out, fall back, recede, and tide. Move away and back from. And the enemy fell back. That's in the Hebrew description. Will this describe the United States? Will we one day fall back, potentially as an enemy? Let me tell you, if we're there for Israel right now, and we're their allies, and we don't support them, if anybody attacks them, then we are their enemy. We're not their friends if we don't stand up and support them. So the ebbing away and falling back, the enemy fell back, that would be reasonably tagged to us, since the Bible tells us that no country will be with God's people in that day. That's why God's fury is thrown up in his face, and he will go in and he will fight for them, and he'll destroy. And I heard somebody put it a different way. I've always said that nighttime the war will start, and when the daylight comes, it's been over for a while. Well, somebody else said, I read last night, that it's an 8-minute war with God. And I can believe that. I just knew that it wasn't a 2 or 3 or 4 day or 1 or 2 or 3 week thing. I knew it'd start at dark and it'd be over at daylight. So, ebbing away means tipping the scales. And Kushner said, yes, America, our time to tip the scales in our favor for the righteous. And that is not a good sign. I didn't know that until I heard someone else said, well, Hebrew doesn't think too much about tipping the scales. And look at this. So there we are. And the last thing, was a peace treaty announced today? Nope. But today is not over, because you start Feast of Trumpets, and then Yom Kippur, which is tomorrow, the 19th, and the 19th will end on the evening of the 20th. Jody Wolf, Expoz.